Hey guys, so we're on to moving this cross member. I did drill one hole in it and then realized I don't have any bolts. So anyways, I gotta get some bolts tomorrow. I'm gonna use grade 8 fine thread 7/16 bolts to hold that on, and I still have to just whack this a little bit with something just to clean the rust off so we can paint it. But I am going to cut these rivets off tonight. And I'll probably pull the fuel tank out. I don't know if I'll get far enough. It'll be in this video. I just don't think it'll be tonight. But anyways, it'll be the same video for you guys. So what I'm going to show is a couple different ways to take automotive rivets off. I've had people ask in the past how to take them off. They're not really that hard to get off, but I guess if you've never done them before, there is lots of different ways to do it. The easiest way to do it is the most noisy, but if you don't have a really good air hammer, you can't do it this way. But let me grab my air hammer. I'll be right back. All right, guys. So if you have it doesn't have to be a snap-on one, but a good air hammer, you will need a good air hammer for this though. These are not that hard to get off. If you have something like this, if you do not, then I'll show you a couple different ways to do it. But I'll show you with this one just to start with here. Don't shoot the chisel anywhere. Make sure you have your chisel locked into the chuck properly so it doesn't fly off. Safety first here. You need to get just below the rivet so you can knock it off. But the head comes right off. Relatively easy to do. And then if you have the air hammer, you're gonna probably have one of these. It's just a punch. And you can just set it on top because they are riveted so they're tight. They're right on top. And the rivet comes out. Now I realize not all you guys are gonna have a $500 air hammer to do this. Now, if you don't have, another way to do it is with a hand grinder. So I'll do one with a hand grinder. You do it so I don't spray sparks everywhere. And I'll show you this. It's basically the same idea. You just take the head off of it. And then doing on that, you basically just want to take it until you can see the surround of what the stud is. Obviously you don't want to grind anymore. I'm not using this so I didn't care, but you want to be careful. See how this one you don't screw up the surface at all? With this one you got to be careful you don't hit the surface too much. A little tiny bit's not going to hurt anything, but that's another way. And there again, if you can just use a hammer and a punch, but being that I have the air hammer right here, we will use the air hammer. And they will shift usually. I'll get it when I get the other side off. The frame usually does have some preload in it, so you can see this one is preloaded that way pretty hard. So anyways, it doesn't matter. Now there is another way to do it, a little bit more work, but if you can drill them out. I guess I could show drilling one out too. You got to get, this is a fancy drill bit, kind of. You need to get it right in the middle to start with. You can do it with a smaller drill bit. This is the right size drill bit for doing this, but for the hole. You need to get in the middle of it, or as close as you can. And then the head comes off, just like drilling like a regular rivet, right? So that's, I probably should have been using a little bit of, coolant or lube. But anyways, that is 3 ways to do it. Air hammer obviously is the easiest way to do it. You can do it with the hand grinder, which is still a pretty easy way to do it, or you can drill them out. Obviously, if you're drilling them on the side, they're a little bit harder to drill because you can't, lay on top of it like I was just laying on top of it. But it's an easy way to take them out. So you either need a drill, hand grinder, or a good air chisel. You could actually do it with a hand chisel and a hammer, but man, you're gonna have to do some hammering to do that. So anyways, just thought I'd do that a little bit. I'm gonna knock the rest of these things off here, so I'll put you guys in a time lapse, pull the fuel tank back out, and then I'll probably gonna do the sump. Yeah, because I can't finish the cross member tonight anyway, because I don't have the bolts. But actually, I should maybe paint it. Yeah, so you'll see, I'm gonna pull the fuel tank out, and I'll pull the cross member out, probably do the fuel tank. Well, I'll put the cross member in and I'll do the tank tomorrow, but like I said, it'll be in the same video, because it is starting to get late already tonight. So I'll throw in time lapse. We'll get, I'm gonna clean this up a bit. We'll paint that so it's painted for tomorrow, and I'll get this cross member out of the way. We'll give it a little shot of paint underneath there because it will still be rusty under there. All right. So that's as far as we're gonna go tonight. Like I said, there'll be more in this video, but I wanted to mention my buddy Matt. He has a YouTube channel that he's been working on. He works on Volkswagens. Not just Volkswagen, but primarily Volkswagen stuff, but he's a paintless dent removal guy. You guys have seen on the channel, he's got the silver 3rd gen that we did some front end work on there a couple months ago. But he's a paintless dent removal guy. He came down and helped me out. Obviously the truck is getting painted, but it had a bunch of small little dents and stuff in the box sides. He came down and banged it out for me. Looks minty. It's too bad the paint wasn't nice on this thing because it's like super straight now. So I appreciate it, Matt, when you watch this video. Thanks, buddy. You guys seen the time lapse. I painted this cross member. Just figured I was, might as well get it all painted up. I threw it in the sandblasting cabinet quick, just blew off the rust. And so we'll get that thing mounted on there tomorrow. And we're gonna put the sump in and the draw straw bulkhead for a return, and probably hook up the draw straw part itself. I don't know. I don't think I'm ever gonna need it, but I figured if it's in there, then I'll have to take the tank apart. And anyways, that'll be in this video anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So, catch you tomorrow. All right, guys, so we're getting ready to install I got the fuel tank back out, obviously. The Beans girdle. So this is their micro girdle. The Beans sump. This is the micro one, the only one that I could get in a fast fashion, and I'm tired of waiting for stuff, so this is what we're gonna use. I was talking about putting the draw straw down inside the sump, but being that I got this small sump, I can't do that, so the line is gonna run underneath. The only benefit for doing that is that the line doesn't run underneath the fuel tank, but I'm not too worried about for this thing. This thing's never gonna go anywhere as far as that goes. So, to put this in, you will need an Allen key. You can do this in the truck. An Allen key, a drill, an 1.5-inch hole saw, and that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna put it right here. You wanna make sure you put it in a nice flat spot. In the lowest part of the tank is best. I'm gonna put it right here below the rear sump, or below the fuel basket before we put the sump in. It's gonna go right here, which is in a nice spot on the frame for the line to come around, then I can P-clamp it up to the bottom of the frame. So let's drill a hole. Now we got a big hole in the fuel tank. You want to make sure you clean up this little bit of fuzzy stuff. I usually just use a little file, but I don't have the file here at the moment. I got to grab one. Oh, actually, You can use a knife too, you just want to be careful that you don't chew it all to hell. Now we got a little covering crap. You want to make sure you get the inside of the tank cleaned out as well. I can get into the top of this one, so I don't need to worry about it right at the moment. But you're going to put, obviously, like for me, I'm going to put the sump like this. You want to make sure this surface is clean. It doesn't have any crap on it or any big chunks missing out of it, because if it does, you'll have a bad day. Now, the other thing that you do need to do is you need to put a little bit of lube on these threads, because this is stainless and this is aluminum. And if you don't, you'll have a bad day. So I'm going to do a little bit of WD-40. And I guess I need some way of torquing this. Pretty sure that's the right size. Recommend torquing these. You don't have to, but I recommend torquing it myself. Yeah. By doing it wrong. So got that in there. I got it facing the way that I would like. And they want you to torque this to 22 foot-pounds. And there's the 22 foot-pounds. Right over there. And now we are going to do the top one. Now the top one is a little bit on the different side, because we're doing the top one only because I was going to put a draw straw on it, but I changed my mind. I'm not going to. The only reason we're doing a one on the top here is for fuel return, because the fuel sending unit that I have for this tank is for a gasser, and I'm not screwing around changing it. It literally is just there for a fuel sending unit. So I'm going to put the return, and then on the returns, I can plumb my returns right into that. So I can find it. So all we're going to do is we're going to put this right there. I'm going to cap the one off, which is the suction line, which I'm not going to hook up. And then, which you could actually use for another return if you really needed to. And then the return, I'm going to face this way so that it can come in or around the frame rail. So we are going to cut this, but I have to find a fitting before I do that. I need to find a couple fittings, or look to see what I have for fittings. Okay. Take that hand. Hole drilled in there. Clean it up a little bit with our knife here. Now I did find a flexible draw straw for this, which is not the right draw straw that should be in it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually hook it on the bottom of the sump. So that way if I ever want to hook up a sump on it, I don't have to take the fuel tank out. So I'm basically being lazy. Oh, perfect. It does fit. Down there, washer. Make sure your O-ring stays in there. All right, that's all there is to putting those on, boys. Now you got to put your fittings in, obviously, and you do have to take the fuel tank out or the box off for doing this, for doing a sump or doing a draw straw, because you need to get it out of the way. We should be good to go, I think. Couple fittings in there, and that part is done. Hey guys, so got a bunch of stuff done on the shorty today. Well, not a bunch, but some stuff. You've seen a bunch of it in time lapse. There was a little bit where the camera died and I just kept working. But we got the sump in the bottom, which I need a fitting for. This is a fitting that was in the bottom, but I want to put an AN fitting here that will come to the fass unit. We'll talk about the fass unit in a second. We have the return line from the fass is coming to this bulkhead. The return line from the engine is going to go to here. I just cut the line off the accumulator, and you can blow through that, so it's not a huge deal. So we're going to have it set up that way, and then all the lines will run up that need to run up will run up here. So for you guys that have been watching, I was going to use that Fuel Lab pump that I have, but I needed more fittings for it, and I've been having a hard time finding the fittings that I want. I had to make a mounting bracket and all that jazz. So I had this fast unit, which is a 165 fast unit from another one of my trucks. And I just decided, you know what? I'm just going to use this fast unit on it. And then if later on I want to change it, I'll change it. There isn't anything wrong with this fast unit. It was a perfectly good working unit when I pulled it out. And it's been out for maybe a year. So that'll be, I think it'll be fine for what we're going to do with this thing. If I find that it's not enough fuel, we'll change it at that point. But I just to the point now where I want to start getting this thing together, because Neil is going to have the cab done hopefully in the next few weeks for us. So I need to get all the stuff done that I need to get. The drive shaft is ready. I have to go over and pick it up this week. I'm going to go pick it up. Obviously, we got this cross member in there. And I don't know. We got a few other little things figured out too. Nothing astronomical, but getting to the point now where I'm starting to run out of stuff without the cab, without the turbocharger, stuff like that. So this week we will be doing I have to get another, the fitting for the bottom of the fuel tank. So we'll be hooking up the sump to the fass unit this week, running the fuel lines, the return line, and the feed line from the fass unit up to here. We're going to get the fuel lines to the injection pump done, the throttle linkage on, the return line set up, get the AFC housing back on here. I did a video on that, but I have not dropped the video yet, but I will probably this week. I'll drop the video. We'll get that on, the line hooked up, all these other holes plugged off. And yeah, go through some of this stuff. We'll get the starter in it. We'll get the dipstick tube on. We'll get some of that stuff done, nitpicky stuff, but I'll show you guys. You know, I'll throw it in time lapse and stuff for you guys that want to see what I'm doing. And then if I run into any little things, we'll you know, talk about that. I do have, obviously I still have to put the fan, the alternator, all that stuff, which I have new here somewhere. Most of the stuff will be new. But I didn't want to put it on there just because this isn't completely sturdy, and I didn't want the fan to hit the new rad. We will be putting this rad support on. I'm probably going to paint it. I'm going to paint it this week. I'm just painting it black so that we can get it mounted on there for the last time. But I do need to, before I do that, when I have it off, these ears, for you guys that seen it, I cut these ears off because they were all welded to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them off of this frame and then weld them onto that one. So we'll be doing that this week. A bunch of stuff that I want to get done to this thing, because when we get the cab back, we will be, so when we get the cab back, it's going to be kind of a mad dash to get a bunch of stuff done. I want to get the cab on, the dash in, the interior in, all the wiring. So it'll be all the wiring for all the engine wiring and all that stuff as soon as we get the cab. And then as Neil is working on the doors and the fenders and all that stuff, obviously as soon as we get the doors and the fenders on it, then I can get the rest of the stuff finished. Hopefully by then we have the turbocharger. If we don't have the turbocharger that I've been waiting for, I've come to the conclusion, I'm not sure when we're getting it. I am going to buy a different turbocharger for the truck because I don't want to wait anymore. So that we can get the turbocharger on there, we can get the exhaust on there, start to get this thing finished up. We did get Shay in the time lapse. You'll see it. Shay got the brakes on this side and the line on for me, and then on this side he got the brake line on and the caliper and all that stuff. But I have to make up a bracket to hold this because this is the older frame. It doesn't have it built into the frame. Not a huge deal. So I got a bunch of stuff to do this week, but I will get it banged out this week, I believe, because I want to have this thing ready so when the cab is ready, we can get it on there, get the hydro boost, the steering shaft, all of that stuff hooked up in a timely fashion. I'm hoping to have this thing movable by the end of November. I know the timeline keeps getting pushed across, but it is what it is for now. There's not much I can do about that. But I'm hoping that we can have this thing ready to move under its own power. I won't be driving it because it will be snowing by then. But it'll be able to move under its own power by the end of November, I'm hoping, so that I can get this thing basically to the point where it's, per se, finished, so that I can put it in the garage at home and I can bring the race truck here, and so we can do a bunch of stuff to the race truck, because I would like to do a bunch of stuff. I'll leave that for another video, but we're going to do a bunch of stuff to the race truck this winter. Kind of a lot of it's nitpicky stuff, so I wanted to do it over the winter time, and then we're going to do some stuff with the rear end. But we'll talk about that when I bring that here. Yeah, and that pretty much wraps up for today. Thanks for watching, subscribing, tell a friend, all that good stuff. And remember, it's not rocket science.